Hello, good evening. It's nice to see people here for this first pre-concert composer talk in Ultima. My name's Rob Young, and I will be speaking with Rolf Wallin, composer of the piece that we'll be hearing in about just under half an hour. Really, this is in the Ultima Context program, which we have running with the festival, and it's our talks program, and we try and use it to kind of give you a little bit of a kind of way in to the music, and contemporary music is often seen as something rather difficult sometimes and inaccessible, so it's fantastic to be able to actually speak to the composer of a piece and try and find out what kind of ideas and processes are lying behind it. We're going to take this in English today because we know that we have a mixed audience of Norwegians and people who've come from abroad to Ultima. So I think we'll just jump straight in, and Rolf, welcome, and
Thank you.
Looking forward to hearing this world premiere of Large Bird Mask. Obviously the idea of birds and bird song and is an important theme in music history. I mean,
absolutely.
Not only contemporary history with, for example, Olivier Messiaen, who's very famously interested in the song of the birds, and there's a fantastic program tomorrow of Messiaen's Catalogue des Oiseaux, which connects with that, but of course further back as well. Can you tell us a little bit where you came in on the idea of birds and musical expression for this piece?
Yeah, actually it was way beyond this, and way also beyond before Messiaen, because it was another M. It was Mozart where the whole thing started, actually, because I was invited from the Wiener Mozartjahr, the Vienna Mozart year in by 250 years it must have been, in 2006 in Vienna, to write a percussion concerto for wonderful young percussionists, and it should be about Mozart. And I think, I hate these theme things that you have to. And then I started to get more and more interested in Mozart as a person. And one thing I heard and learned was that Mozart actually had a pet starling, stær på norsk. And he was very fond of it, and its name was Herr Star, Mr. Starling, and it could actually sing one of the themes from the Piano Concerto number 17 by Mozart, but it made two mistakes, and it was one note was too long, and another one was a little too sharp. And therefore, he wrote that down in his notebook, and he says, "Das war schön." And so the whole concerto was called "Das war schön." That was a very long digression, but actually what I did was, okay, what does starling sound like? Because they are the Charlie Parkers of the birds, and or maybe something more free jazz like, because that's
like maybe the Ornette Coleman or something.
Ornette Coleman, I would say so. What Olivier Messiaen did was to write down in real time and in the fast speed as we can hear it. But we human beings, we are so slow in both our ears and our brains. We think we are very fast, but we are not. But what happens if you slow it down? If you take the tape speed down, then something opens up in the bird song, and you hear amazing melodies coming out, which we cannot. But of course, the female starling can really find out. Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
But I mean, in this piece, is there an element in it where you are transcribing birdsong in a sense, or
Absolutely.
and so you've done that, listening to slowed down recordings for that
exactly.
purpose?
Yeah, so the whole thing was working with Kjetil. We can talk about Kjetil later also, but I thought it should be like an ordinary cicada concert, but it should derail from that in some way. And so you will hear that music toward like halfway in, after half an hour or something like that. There are three bird pieces where I use starling, a nightingale, and a lark. And those are in UK when all of them are threatened, really, going down to only a third of what it was in 1980. So actually what I do here is I found the graph of the rate of extinction of the birds from 1980, and then I put that in the tape speed. So it goes slower and slower, and it goes lower and lower, so that the musician can actually play with it, but it becomes something very, very disturbing and melancholic and wild also. So it's quite
okay. So you're really mapping the extinction pattern onto the song in a musical form.
Yeah,
that's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, and that sounds like a smart and kind of brainy thing to do, but it's really I feel that it's really, oh my God, it's going down. Mm.
And there's a kind of performance aspect to this piece as well, and because it's called large bird mask.
Yeah.
There is a very exotic looking mask floating around the theatre at the moment, and can you tell us a little bit about how you brought in these performance elements?
Yeah, yes, because that was something that I thought of quite early, and that would be nice to use the musicians in other ways. I've done that a lot before, but and then I went to Kjetil Skøyen, who is I worked a lot with in the 80s and the 90s. I wrote music for many of his productions. We did things together. Me also as a performer, and then we haven't worked together for 20 years or something. And then I just asked him, and it's been really nice.
Because I mean, the bass is not really an instrument you tend to associate with birdsong in music. You tend to think the flute, the piano, these kinds of things. It's quite an interesting challenge to have a bass as a sort of key instrument in a piece like this.
Yeah. But we're going deep here. So no, but this thing that what I wanted to work with is the vulnerability we have as human beings, because we think we are so strong, that we think that we are given the earth for our use, and we have abused it instead of using it, and therefore actually why is it called large bird mask? And the whole thing started actually when I saw there are certain tribes of Native Americans on the, especially Vancouver Island. There's some amazing, enormous bird masks that are like very, very fierce, and the whole thing is that they need to get in touch with the animal spirits, and also to connect. If you hunt for animals, you have to ask for that animal's spirit to be allowed to cull them and thank them afterwards, or else they won't be there next year. And we are thinking a little too little about that, we humans, we modern humans. So so that it's going back into that.
Okay, yeah. So you're trying to evoke that more sort of, like that much more ancient connection between the human and what we call nature,
Yeah.
which suggests that it's something outside
Yes,
us.
which is not us, of
But
course.
actually,
Yeah, exactly.
the thinking now, and I've just been having a conversation earlier today with Timothy Morton, who is an amazing philosopher and writer about ecological issues, and his big idea is exactly of separating, of removing that separation between humans and nature, and accepting that we are actually part of it as well, and that you can't escape that presence there.
Yeah.
Would you say that that these sorts of questions about the environment and nature are the biggest ones for artists such as yourself at the moment? Is that a theme that you think you'll be continuing to explore?
Actually, I started with thinking about this thing, making a piece about birds before all these articles came in for real, where it wasn't only some strange bird out in the Australian jungle that was. But it's like larks, starlings, sparrows, even, you know. They're just the population is going down like this, and it's there are so many things, reasons for it, but all of them is about us and what we are not doing. That has actually become increasingly important as we have worked with it. Since the 3 years since I started to think about it.
On a sort of technical level, working with an ensemble like Cicada, how much dialogue has there been during the composition of the piece with them, and how much is it sort of written with them in mind specifically?
Actually, the first half hour almost is actually a piece that I've just completed last year for Cicada. It's actually the solo piano piece called Seven Imperatives, and which Kenneth Carlson has played a lot. And then we found out, okay, let's make a piano concerto of it. And now it's 7 disobediences instead of 7 imperatives. And that was premiered last year. And now that has become a part of this, but there's lots of birdie things in
birdie stuff.
Exactly.
And is there anything about this piece of you? Are there any particular innovations that you have brought in your own style with this piece? Are there any particular moments or motifs that you want to direct us to while we're listening to it?
I don't know. Well, the one thing is that this is the first time I'm actually playing the bird song in this gradually slowing down together with the ensemble, and I was a little, wow, does this work? Because it's in a way, first it's a concerto for piano and ensemble. Now it's a concerto for starling, an ensemble, lark, an ensemble. So how do you do that? Because you clearly hear that it's the same. It's like going together in it. And there are things coming out of this bird song, and like the starling, all of the first of these 3 pieces, the 3 bird pieces coming after half an hour, which is sometimes it sounds like a Vienna waltz, like like that. Where's the champagne? You know, so it's very, very, very strange. So in a way, and again, this is a human being interpreting, meeting this, which is that Starling probably doesn't know what a Vienna waltz is. So maybe he does actually. I don't know. But it's you're going into these strange musical rooms. And then it has been quite challenging to do it, but really interesting.
Do you want to say a little bit about your collaboration with Kjetil Skøyen, going back, because we were just saying, it goes back, 33 years or something?
It's 33 years now since our first collaboration, called The Road Between Water and Thirsts.
Which also sounds like an ecological theme.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now, and then I think Kjetil has really taught me a lot about everything which is not musical, I mean, everything like visual ideas, words, etc. How to deal with that, and then I think I have also brought that back into my own music when it's only music, and that's quite interesting. And I think I'm really happy to have this collaboration again.
And I mean, just before we wrap up, for Messiaen, you know, he was very interested in the birds because their song for him represented a connection with eternity.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just a song that has never changed, you know, throughout evolution. Is that something that is interesting to you? And also, do you feel you'll be continuing to use birdsong or other natural elements as material in future?
Yeah, this is actually just the start. I'm thinking of going on with working with bird songs, because it's a it's a source of amazing, absolutely. And as you say, it is kind of, it's God's music. I've always been interested in things that comes that can be used by me as something coming from the outside. So fractal mathematics has been one of my things, but also a lot of other sources in nature. So yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm sure we're all dying to hear what the piece actually sounds and looks like. So congratulations on finishing it, and thanks very much, Rolf Wallin. Thank you.
Thank you.